The Baghdad Battery, evidence of ancient electricity? In a museum storeroom, archaeologists found an object so strange, some scientists believe it may prove electricity existed over 2,000 years ago. In 1936, during excavations near Hujat Rabu, just outside modern-day Baghdad, archaeologists uncovered a small clay jar. At first glance, it looked ordinary. No jewels, no inscriptions, no obvious value. But inside the jar was something that didn't belong in the ancient world. A copper cylinder, a sealed iron rod, and traces of acidic residue. Together, they formed an object that, according to modern physics, should not exist in ancient Mesopotamia, because when assembled, this device behaves like something very familiar, a battery. When German archaeologist Wilhelm König, then director of the National Museum of Iraq, examined the object, he noticed something unsettling. If the jar were filled with an acidic liquid like vinegar or fermented wine, the copper and iron would create a voltage. Modern replicas produce between 0.5 and 1.5 volts, enough to generate electricity. Not theory, not speculation. Tested, measured, verified. The question wasn't if it worked, it was why it existed. The object dates to the Parthian period, around 250 BCE to 250 CE. It consists of a clay jar, roughly 13 centimeters tall, a rolled copper sheet forming a cylinder, an iron rod sealed inside with asphalt. The asphalt insulation prevents contact between metals, a crucial feature in the electrical cells. This wasn't accidental. Someone designed it. Additional similar jars were later discovered in the same region, not identical, but similar enough to suggest a pattern, not an anomaly. These objects were found near temples, workshops, administrative buildings, which implies function. But no ancient texts describe them. No diagrams, no manuals, no explanations. Only the objects themselves. Most mainstream historians reject the battery interpretation. They argue the jars were used for storing scrolls, holding sacred objects, containing cosmetic tools. But there's a problem. Scroll storage jars don't contain copper cylinders and iron rods sealed with asphalt. Cosmetic containers don't require electrical insulation, and none of these explanations account for the acidic residue found inside. In the early 20th century, researchers noticed something else. Ancient artifacts, especially jewelry, often show extremely thin layers of gold or silver bonded to base metals with surprising uniformity. Too uniform for hammering, too precise for fire gilding, but perfect for electroplating, using low-voltage electricity. Experiments using Baghdad Battery replicas successfully electroplated metals using ancient techniques, which raises an uncomfortable possibility. What if electricity wasn't used for power, but for precision? No ancient Mesopotamian texts describe electricity, but that absence may not mean ignorance. Advanced knowledge in the ancient world was often restricted to priesthoods, guarded by guilds, passed orally. If the knowledge died with its keepers, it would leave no paper trail, only artifacts. Some scholars suggest the devices were used in religious rituals. Low-level electrical shocks can cause muscle spasms, tingling sensations, feelings of awe or fear. In ritual contexts, these sensations could be interpreted as divine contact. Temples were centers of both science and spirituality. If electricity was understood, even imperfectly, it may have been framed as sacred, not technological, which would explain the secrecy. Critics point out a major flaw. No wires were found, no clear terminals, no infrastructure. But electricity doesn't require grids. It requires purpose. And small-scale electricity can exist without visible networks, especially if it's experimental or ritualistic. If ancient Mesopotamians understood electricity, even at a basic level, why didn't it advance? Why didn't it spread? Why was it forgotten? History shows that technology doesn't always progress. It collapses, it fragments, it disappears when civilizations fall. The Library of Alexandria wasn't the only loss. The Baghdad Battery wasn't displayed prominently. For decades, it sat quietly in museum storage, rarely discussed, rarely emphasized, often dismissed, not because it was disproven, but because it didn't fit. Every time the device is recreated under controlled conditions, it works. Electricity flows. The physics are undeniable. Only the interpretation remains contested. And no alternative explanation fully accounts for the materials, the insulation, the chemistry, the location. Final implications. No conclusion. If the Baghdad Battery was not a battery, why does it behave exactly like one? If it was ritualistic, what knowledge powered that ritual? And if ancient people experimented with electricity, how many discoveries were made and then erased before history learned how to remember? Because this object doesn't prove ancient civilizations had power plants, it suggests something more unsettling, that advanced knowledge can appear, serve its purpose, and vanish, leaving behind a single question archaeology still hasn't answered. What else did the ancient world understand that we no longer do?
This is the Chronomyst Secret. Secrets buried in time. Like the video, subscribe for the truth.